We started 8 months ago with many of the people in this room, others that couldn't be here, some that have joined more recently. Timing-wise, it was shortly after the Jason Negron shooting, and we came together and we said that these meetings, which at times happened weekly, at times every other week, intermittently, were not made for publicity, but also were not closed. And we literally kept the door open, and we tried to invite as many people as we thought, either by word of mouth and some by emails, to begin a dialogue, understanding some of the challenges that every city has, and certainly that Bridgeport is no different from, and then some immediate challenges that we'd face then with community and police, and part of the result of that shooting, an eye towards what was going on around the country, and then as we move towards the summer, some of the challenges that we've had in the city with violence, and how to recognize some of the challenges we thought might come up in the summer. And we worked through some of it. We thought we made some, I think, very constructive dialogue suggestions and ideas. And now I think we're at the point where we recognize that the hard work needs to be recognized, and outreach, even beyond the groups that we have, the individuals that are here, would be appropriate. In a kind of a moment in our meeting last Friday, the group took on a name. And in whatever democratic process we have here, I'm not sure whether we voted on it, I think we did. But I feel, and I think people feel, it appropriately kind of captures some of what this is about. It's communities, I have a clean copy here, communities working for a better Bridgeport, working for a united Bridgeport. And a number of groups and individuals have put their name on, and others will be added. And the goals were to come together, to have not a public, but not necessarily a private discussion and dialogue about some of the challenges we face, and ideas that we could begin to implement, both from the city side, from the community side. We have members of the clergy here, we have city council people that have participated at various times, members of the Bridgeport delegation, and I think we've latched on to some ideas that we think are worth kind of sharing, and then also a vision as to what we think we can do as a community, as a city, to move forward on this front with some really aggressive and laudable goals. We went from, and I think Rev pointed out, whether it was to, how do we focus on stopping, whether it's one shooting, all of our shootings, or aggressively reducing violence at every neighborhood and at every level. And what are some of the root causes of that, and what is the social fabric that might have been torn away for a variety of reasons that we don't need to get into, and how do we rebuild that with some people that know how to do it, have done it in the past, and we'll share some of those examples with you today, and remain open for fresh ideas. And it was also said, and I'll stop after this, that we're meeting in the mayor's conference room, and I'm here, and you can see this is a round table, so there's no head at the table. We didn't want to stand behind a podium. We want to let you kind of share an experience of how we meet. I'm just one, certainly have my own role and responsibility in this, my own personal commitment as mayor. The chief is another, but we're part of this group as individuals. I don't chair the meetings. Sometimes I kind of sit back. Sometimes I'll say, if you don't want me in the room, I'll come out. But there are people that have risen to the task of chairing and moving it forward. From the city side, staff side, I'm going to turn it over to Kim for a minute. She wasn't going to speak, but then she, right before you came in a very articulate way, I think, laid out a couple things that are probably worth saying, and then we'll go from there. I think who's going to speak next knows themselves, they'll identify themselves, and what they want to share with you. So I'm going to stop there. We'll have questions at the end.
Thank you. Well, just as a follow-up to the mayor's comments, this group came together starting last May. And basically they came together to have a discussion around improving and having a better Bridgeport and just really having an impact. So I want to say today is a moment or a time where they can really share what they've done over the last several months. Their commitment, their passion, and their belief in a better, more unified Bridgeport is really making a difference. They're not meeting just to meet. They've been coming together. It started out weekly, then every other week. They're coming together to come up and develop some real solutions, some results, some outcomes. And that's really what you're going to hear today. So I will say, take that opportunity, because we're doing this for Bridgeport, because we're a part of Bridgeport and we love Bridgeport.
I'm Carl McCluskey. I'm the senior pastor at Shiloh Baptist Church, and I appreciate the mayor's comments today about being at the table, because we've all come here as equals around the table, regardless of our station or our standing otherwise. This is not a political gathering. This is not an endorsement party. It's none of that. This is an opportunity for people who care about Bridgeport to come together and help to self-determine who we are and where we'll go. So I would argue that we have come to stake claim to shaping a new legacy for this community. One that, in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, judges people based on the content of one's character, not the color of their skin or anything else. We are staking claim to the equity and the privileges of citizenship guaranteed by our Constitution of the United States of America, and we stand firm upon the shoulders of our forefathers, both our respective ethnic, cultural, and racial roots, as well as those who were righteous fathers of this nation and those who were righteous fathers of this wonderful city. We're going to stand together to ensure that there is, in fact, truth and justice for all. We consider law enforcement officers and elected officials co-laborers in this process, and welcome partnership across all dividing lines to make sure that there is safety, justice, and peace in our city, its neighborhoods, its streets, and its homes. We commit to the ongoing collaborative effort of this group and all who will join us in bringing this to pass, to bring peace, economic opportunity, educational excellence, sustainable life to every person and every family unit. It's important that you know that we want everyone possible to be at the table with us. If you have a community group, if you care about Bridgeport, if you care about its people, if you say you want something done, then come to this round table of folks who are leaders and workers in the community to do that. We are black, we are brown, we are yellow, red, white, and any other color you can name. We are committed, we are consecrated for calling to maintain a civil and productive community and conscious of the cost thereof. In other words, we understand that it costs us to do this. We give ourselves to these tasks willingly, fully, and without purpose of evasion. We will stand together and we will prevail. We will be united and we will not be divided. I say all these things in this way because so often when groups come together, people try to mark them and name this person's group or that person's group. We've agreed that we are the group of people in Bridgeport who care about Bridgeport, whether we're elected, whether we're appointed, or we're just walking off the street because we care. We're going to pass these values from generation to generation until Bridgeport and all of our citizens live up to the full potential that we all see when we survey the sprawling metropolis that is the largest city in the finest state in the most wonderful country on the face of the earth. We will not be denied because we are Bridgeport. That's who we are. That's what we're here for. That's what we're about. Pastor Mercedes.
Pastor Moses Mercedes. I've been in Bridgeport for the last 27 years. And coming together to these meetings has been an opportunity to see other ministers and community leaders, the police and the mayor, coming together to implement what we already have, because there's different programs in these meetings, but also to be preventive in bringing all the ideas, programs to be implemented in the community. The Latino community, through the Association of Latino Ministers, have been active in also participating to bring to the community all the resources that they are out there and others that we could implement to better our relationship. It's not only an act of violence, the shooting. When a program antagonizes another program, that's an act of violence. When a house of worship antagonizes another house of worship, that's an act of violence. Here we are all together, saying no more. We are going to be working for a better and united Bridgeport. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Next. So I'm Carolyn Vermont, and I'm serving as the facilitator for the group, and has shared with you before, we all came together on behalf of the community. Of course, I always use the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, and we are the village members here. And we're all responsible for our community, and we're the ones that can make changes and make it better. So I'm really proud of this group, and again, we're continuing to add other members to the group. It's an open group. We have sat down, we've came up with goals, we've come up with outcomes, we have come up with future action items, we have our subcommittees, we have youth subcommittee. As a matter of fact, the youth subcommittee had provided an opportunity for the mayor to sit down with a group of youth and to hear directly from them. Because as the older village members, we tend to think we have all the solutions to the problems affecting our young people and the reasons why they demonstrate antisocial behavior. But it's important to hear directly from them also. So that was good that the mayor had an opportunity to sit down with the youth. Another suggestion that came to the table is that we need jobs for young people. If they don't have constructive activities, again, they will engage in antisocial behavior. So the mayor was able to find some funding last summer to create some employment opportunities for young people. We also have another subcommittee, the Police Community Relations Subcommittee. David Daniels, former lieutenant, is serving as one of the co-chairs for that committee. We'll be working with community policing, with some of the substations. So we're making a lot of progress, even though there's still a lot more work to be done. We don't have all the answers at this table, but we know that we have to keep working on behalf of this village, to make this village safer, to make our kids know that we're here, that we care for them, that we are caring adults, providing constructive activities. We want to have safe places for them to go. And in the meantime, we do have to come up with some solutions for the problems in this community. And it does take all of us coming together, whether you are clergy, or you're working with the parents, or you're working with the youth, or you're not working at all, but you are a concerned community member and want to get engaged and want to make a difference. So, we have a lot of work to be done. We're moving forward collectively, and we are that village that's going to save our children. Thank you.
Well put, Carol. Chief, did you want to add?
No, I just want to say that, I pride myself on being not only transparent, but I want to be accountable to the community. And so I'm happy to be part of this group as a result of the work that we've been doing and done for a while. I'm happy to report that I have over 120 police officers now trained in de-escalation training, as well as cultural sensitivity and diverse training. We are rolling out motor vehicle training, which hasn't been done for many, many, many years. We recognize that anytime there's a motor vehicle stop, it could turn very ugly very quickly. So we are making an 8-hour block. That's how much I think of it. And we're going to start training the entire police department, including myself, in this training. We also have, and I don't want to commit myself, but I will say that we will have body cams and dash cams pretty soon. I would say hopefully by the end of the month, I'm going to have a pilot program and hopefully rolled out the entire department within 90 days after that. So there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out of here, and these are all ideas that were brought forth by the committee, and I'm committed in implementing them.
Also, I think the chief wanted to mention that with reference to David Daniels.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. Never forget David Daniels. We brought David Daniels on board. He has a wealth of experience in dealing with community issues. David and I go back a little ways, right, Dave? And we brought community services from a little shack up in the north end somewhere into what it is today. But I'll let Dave speak for himself. Dave, please.
Well, my name is Dave Daniels, the third. I'm a retired Bridgeport police officer. I retired in 2014 with 25 years service. For the most part of my career, I spent in the Community Services Division. I'm pleased to be back as a consultant, and what I'm going to do is oversee a community policing program that's trauma-based, that's going to be top to bottom in the Bridgeport Police Department. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to fashion a youth mentoring program, and I did a basketball camp called the Officer Friendly Basketball Camp, which started out a one-year program that lasted for 17 years. And I'm pleased to say that that'll be back. And as far as AJ's mentioned, we were actually patrolmen together in what was the beginning of our community services division in the police department. And I'm pleased to be back, work with the police department and AJ again.
See, did you want to say anything? State
Good,
Representative?
just, this is probably my third meeting, and just pleased to see all the people coming together. I'll be happy to do what I can with any resources that the state may be able to provide this group, and always, welcome to any ideas or concerns any of the community members have. So that way I can do what I can to help. So learning right now, just learning, and looking to see what can my niche be to make a difference.
I think that's, anybody that wants to speak, please feel free.
Mayor, we do have the aide to State Senator.
I'm sorry.
Jones, Aaron Turner.
Aaron, do you want to say a few
who's
words?
actually been a consultant with some of us on this work as well.
Just want to echo Representative Santiago's comments that from the Senator's office, we're willing to do our part and help. Once the body cam equipment is purchased, again, working in a consult with the delegation, we'd be willing to walk you guys through on how to fill out the application, and then be there every step of the way with the process.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome the Fire Chief also to the table.
Yes, I'm sorry, Chief. Chief's here.
It's my partner.
Just anything anyone needs, we're here to help. We're, as the captain and I were kind of discussing, as a fire station in every one of your communities, every one of your neighborhoods has a fire station. So please feel free to reach out to any of the firefighters in the stations or myself anytime you need anything, anytime we can help you with anything, support anything.
Anyone? If there is, feel free. And if,
We
yes,
must be aggressive in our tactics before it gets to our churches, our mosques,
yep.
because that's an all-time low when it hits that. We've been blessed so far in Bridgeport, but we need to do something and be aggressive in what we're doing.
Good, Rob. Yeah.
And I want to commend the chief on a very difficult day when B'nai Israel, one of our partners in this process, hosted a day to help learn how to stop violence in houses of worship and in public places. The chief came over and contributed to that conversation significantly on a real tough day, on a day that the mayor couldn't be there because of another responsibility. So Chief, I want to take my hat off to you on behalf of all of the clergy and the groups that gathered there. Mayor, you had some goals in mind, and I mean, we've talked about goals around the table. It's been a tough conversation because where do you go from where we are to figure out what we're going to do? I mean, groups like Connecticut Against Gun Violence and other groups that are here, and the youth groups that are here, Rose's group that does the youth training, the Shinda, who is here with us. So there's so many, the diversity and the depth of this group is really a miracle in our city to have this many significant organizations laboring together around common goals. Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of what we noted as some of our goals. We identified way back in May. Relationship between community and law enforcement, obviously, that was kind of what, in part, got us, some of us around the table. Youth programs and resources, and we struggle, obviously, with resources all the time, but I don't think anybody doesn't diminish the understanding of the commitment and the need for youth programs. And I think we're one of the few communities that went out on a limb, even when we didn't have a state budget, and with the help of the city council and some of the members were here, and said, how do we do something over the summer, at least to try and do something as opposed to nothing in the way of putting out programs there. And then the Lighthouse program.
Yeah, 200 kids that we get our for the summer.
Nice. Training and education. Also talked about policies and procedures and next steps for many things were identified, and creating a working relationship in the neighborhoods. We talked about going out into the communities, whether we decide ultimately this group goes out into the communities and and meets there as opposed to here in certain instances as a way to engage more people and get a better understanding. I think we all know, and some are out there more often, as we've heard in our meetings, with various challenges in different neighborhoods, how to connect even more. And I think, as a takeaway, that this is a continuing sustained group of people who come together. As I don't know if you said it, Rev, or someone said it, a lot of stuff left out at the doorway. We came in here representing Bridgeport, whatever role we've played in the past. Now we're part of a bigger group, ready to take on, as I've called it, and I don't mean this in any minimizing way, any stress tests that may be out there from one individual shooting, anything that happens in a neighborhood, a reaction to things that could happen with the police department in a constructive way, not ignoring things that might be right or wrong, but call them to task, but I think in a constructive way to deal with the challenges we have going forward from what we've kind of come together on in the past 8 months. So I'm appreciative. I didn't say this in the beginning. I usually try and start this way when it's appropriate to say thank you to everyone, because you've committed a lot of hours so far, brain power. You brought resources to the table, maybe if not dollars, your personal resources, as a part of making this an effective group. And you know, coming in at 8 o'clock on Friday morning isn't always fun, or 9 o'clock on Friday morning, and sitting for an hour. I know sometimes we bring bagels and coffee, but it doesn't make it that much better. But to each of you, appreciate it. And appreciate the, you know, we had to sit down, frankly, with the press that's here and say, do we want to do kind of a presser or not? We thought it was appropriate at this time to take the next step, let people know there has been some work being done, not just for the point of announcing it, but I think for the point of building it to the next step of awareness. So I'm appreciative. I know the chief is. Everyone who's participated, I'm sure, is appreciative of each other. And I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Anything in the works for jobs that we had mentioned earlier? Is there any job programs or anything in the works?
Yeah, one of the ideas that came out was to look at, and something I'm very big on too, is how do we create jobs, second chance jobs, even more, and whether we should be looking at a focus on adding that to the agenda for this group. In addition to what the city's doing in conjunction with the workplace, but making it an objective for this group, not just for the city. I don't mean minimize the importance of jobs, but as a way towards one of the things we want to focus on that will help. And we don't even need to go into how it will help, but if someone's working, they have a good, decent job, it takes them out of places where they may not be doing something positive.
Mr. Mayor, I really want to compliment Senator Gomes, and particularly Aaron Turner, who's his aide, who is, you know, of course, he's on the Labor Committee on the state legislature, and has been really a tiger in trying to find and identify resources for us that we can apply to this program, these activities, and other things. And I think we'd be remiss if we did not acknowledge the hard work that Aaron has given to that process as Senator Gomes' senior aide. Whenever we've called, he's been able to be there and push the commissioner and everyone else at the state to try to make sure that we get the money that's there and coming up in a very tight fiscal budgetary year. So we're looking forward to the hard work continuing, he and Ezekiel and the others, and to the city's continued pushing for second chance. So I mean, every pastor here, every clergy person here, every member of this committee knows the importance of second chance jobs in a city like Bridgeport. The statistics speak for themselves. And so, again, I don't want to go on. I just want to acknowledge, Aaron, your hard work, and Senator Gomes' hard work, Ezekiel, you too, to get these things done for us.
Anyone?
Chief, are you at full strength now, or what's your complement right now?
Right now we're at 422 officers.
422. Is that the number you'd like to see, or do you want more?
No, my goal is 450.
450?
450. That'll be, it should be 500, but 450. I'll take.
When do you think you'll hit that goal?
Well, the mayor's been very generous. He kept, you know, the promise that he made to the citizens of Bridgeport when we were out there in the street, and he has put already, I believe, 100 police officers, and there's going to be another police class of 17, Your Honor, I believe, in the future.
Yeah.
And so we're heading in the right direction.
Okay. When will that class get on board?
Well, we're still working on the, yeah.
Those efforts, I mean, obviously, it was an underfunded, undermanned department a couple years ago. You've heard talk about that. And so part of what it does do at this point with the additional officers is allow for the expansion in things like community policing. Instead of just being reactive, you have departments not only being better trained now, I believe, Chief, but being trained now even more emphatically in community policing and is able to implement that. And you don't even have to look at the studies. I think there's very few people who disagree about the benefits of implementing an effective community policing program in addition to greater police visibility or part of it and everything else that goes into it. Again, it's critically important. I stand behind the additional officers in the community policing. That's part of it. I think what this group demonstrates, though, is the bigger picture. It's all of us playing key roles. If we went around the room and you understood some of the delicate and difficult issues some people play in this room that you know, maybe not spoken up and don't need to, there's elements of how to combat and make our neighborhood safer from a whole variety of approaches. Anybody that wants to mention their organization and what you do, feel free. But certainly, at bottom, the first call people make when they're a victim or threatened is 911 and they call for the police department. I don't want to minimize that role. But what this group is, I think, demonstrating is we understand it's a bigger picture and that we all have to play as much of a role, maybe a bigger role than we have in the past. And I want to thank people for doing that. And in the process, understand and make better in every way we can, which community policing does, the relationship between police officers, the department as a whole, and the community or the communities. As much as we're one community, sometimes we're different communities. And different communities feel that they're impacted in different ways. And so that's part of the agenda too.
And just to talk about, you know, groups and police relations, Sean, is your organization doing some work along the line of relationship with police or in the process?
With my fraternity. And
why don't you stand up, since you stand
Hello, my
up.
name is Sean Bird. I'm founder of Bridgeport Organization for Youth Sports. We have an initiative, collaboration with my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, to work with the police department. This is a nationwide initiative to get the youth to understand that we need the police need the youth, and to build relationships to understand that police are to serve and protect, and the youth are not all bad. And they get to a room and get to a medium that they all can talk and understand the challenges that each have. And so when you see, identify a youth, you're not labeling that individual. When you see, identify a cop, you're not afraid of that cop. And so by having those town meetings, those interactions in the school system, get the youth to understand that the police are here to protect and serve, and the police look out the youth, all youth are not bad. And by having that happy medium, I think we're going to have great progress in the future.
And even with this group, as mentioned before, even though we are meeting here as a larger group, you know, part of our future goal, immediate future goal, is to go into the neighborhoods and have meetings there. And certainly, not just us going in, but talking about that village concept, but actually sit down with the council representatives, the clergy there, other community leaders there, and really meet people where they are in their environment.
Can I say, on behalf of the clergy that haven't spoken up here today, I'm particularly proud of the South End, of course, where Bishop White and Pastor Upshaw and myself work together. But several of the houses of worship have offered their spaces as open spaces for gathering places, for this sort of training, for this sort of gathering. B'nai Israel has, the mosques have, Bishop White has, Pastor Upshaw, Bishop Diamond, all of the Mercedes, all of these churches have said we are open if this group or any group needs to come in and work with our youth. And one of the untold stories, we talked about this earlier in this room, is the silent work that the houses of worship do with our young people in promoting character and also developing strong relationships. And I think our presence here in the room, Doran over there, the Latino pastors, all of us, we are committed to a partnership with our law enforcement, with our city government, with our elected officials, with all of the community organizations that are here to do a better job of helping to train and empower our youth and also to develop and foster better relationships. And so for every silent pastor, imam, or rabbi, then I speak today and say we're here as a part of this process for it to go forward.
Yes. We're good? Questions good?